one of the things that alternately amuses me and frustrates me is scratch most liberals and you'll find a political strategist. And they don't just want to vote for the things they believe in, they want to tell you why strategically they need to not vote for things they believe in. And it sometimes, I think, leads people astray. I think that our next guest can maybe shed some light on how we can fight for the things we believe in and also win. In fact, she wrote about that recently, and I found it very enlightening. Maria Svart is the National Director of Democratic Socialists of America, or DSA, and if you don't know that group, the largest socialist organization in the United States, she's been National Director since 2011, which means that she has seen considerable growth in that organization. And recently, she wrote a piece entitled "From the National Director, This is How We Win." So first of all, Maria, thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks for inviting me.
Secondly, I like winning. We like winning. Winning is a good thing, especially when we're fighting for things we believe in. As you say, we want power because that is the only way to get free. So let's talk about this piece a little bit. I really, really appreciated what you had to say here. Among other things, you talk about that power is not wasting energy on being outraged by every new announcement from the nation's capital. So what you're really saying here, just to start on the concept of power, I think is that people are wasting a lot of the energy that can be converted into power with feelings of helplessness and frustration. Is that a fair interpretation?
Absolutely. I think given what's happening both in the White House and in Congress and in state capitals, it's really easy because every day there's something new that's terrible that's happening, and we get paralyzed. But the reality is, until we fight back and we do it effectively, it's just going to keep happening. So it's easy to fall into that rut. I completely understand why it happens with people, but there's a joy in being part of the resistance and engaging in collective struggle with others by your side. And it is the only way that we're going to win. So I think it's really critical for folks to find community with others who are fighting back. And that's really the only way forward, because we won't stop the onslaught unless we sort of get out of survival mode and get into fighting mode.
Well, and I love the idea of getting into fighting mode. You used two words that I think are really important there, Maria Svart, and I want to talk about both of them. You used the word purpose or meaning, and you used the word community. So I want to talk about both of those things, because I think that, let's start with community. I feel sometimes as if for all the positive things that may be conveyed to us by electronic media, useful information and so on, that there is no substitute for building a sense of community. And while electronic media may have a part, I've always felt the community is best built in real space, and real time, that there's no substitute for, at least from time to time, getting together with brothers and sisters who feel the way you do about the world and want to do something about it. And I feel that that's one thing that DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, is doing for its membership. One of a number of things is providing an actual community, because I think that in community is strength. And curious to know, I assume you agree, but I'm curious to know your thoughts about that.
Absolutely. We are not just an email list, which a lot of national organizations in this day and age are. We consider, our members are actually people that pay dues, and what we use those dues to do is build chapters. And we have chapters. We have over 100 chapters in communities across the country, over 50 chapters on high school and college campuses, a lot more organizing committees. We're in almost every state. I think there's 2 where we don't have a local group. And we bring people face to face with each other. And that's partly because it's practical. It's really difficult to be effective at confronting an undemocratic decision maker just online. But it is partly because of the community. I mean, we draw strength from each other, we learn from each other, and frankly, we're at the grassroots in communities able to talk to other people face to face when we're not just online. And we think in this country there has been a long tradition of national decision makers ignoring people outside of the coasts and outside of major cities, and even in states in the quote unquote interior of the country. Decisions are made in state capitals, and a lot of folks feel that if they don't live in the major cities or the state capitals, they're powerless. And reclaiming our power is partly about being with others that share our views. So in a lot of parts of the country, when DSA folks join a chapter, they enter into a community of people that can support them and sustain them for the long haul, because we are in a class war. It will be very difficult. It'll probably get harder before we win. And online is a great way to connect folks, but it's not enough.
The other thing I've noticed in terms of community, and I think this was lacking on the left for a long time, that really heartens me with DSA and fellow travelers, is humor. I mean, people have a good time. And to me, there's no reason why you can't have a good time, even when things, are dire. Obviously, look, we're facing planetary catastrophe. We're worried about the fate of all human and non-human generations to come. So obviously things are dire. We have people dying of starvation and so on. But there is I think humor also bonds us as a community. And I just appreciate that you guys tend to have a good laugh from time to time.
Well, we believe in reclaiming joy, and we believe that joy sustains us. And we also think humor is a great way to skewer the capitalist class and the neoliberals. So yeah, we love to use humor.
Yeah, well,
I think it can be used to, when you feel powerless. Sometimes it's great to have humor, and it can really undercut the power of an opponent.
Yeah, humor has power, actually. It's another tactic for seizing power, I think, because they can't touch you when you're laughing. They can't shame you when you're laughing. They can't make you believe that you are outside the mainstream of human discourse. You're marginal. You're, nobody believes what you believe. No, none of those things touch you when you're laughing. So I'm a huge believer in that. And if you hum a few bars, I'll fake it for you. But going on to purpose, which is the other word, I was very moved by Rebecca Solnit's book, A Paradise Made in Hell, where she talks about several communities that were decimated by tragedy, that worse than what most of us will ever face, Bhopal after Union Carbide and that sort of thing, and how people found a sense of purpose and therefore satisfaction in their lives because they were working together to a common end, to rebuild their community, to bring comfort to those who had lost someone, and so on. And so purpose, how would you define the sense of purpose that people should be having right now on the left?
Yeah, well, living in the capitalist system right now, decisions are made over which you have no power that dramatically affect your life. So most of us go, we drive on roads that we don't control how well they're kept up. We go to a job where we don't have a voice or any autonomy. We are in a community that may or may not have healthy water, and we don't really have a choice about that. We're at the whim of an economy that is controlled by financial elites. So people go through life feeling extremely powerless. And I talk a lot about power because building our power is the only way they're going to transform this system. And it's important to have purpose because, you go through life feeling very frustrated, and we're told all the time that this is normal, this is just the way it is, and we have no power. And when people join the left, when you join DSA, we really talk about the fact that we do have power. We talk about why we have power, and we talk about how we're going to use that power and what our goal is. So being part of the left, we help puncture this idea that this is the only way that life can be. We talk about how there is an alternative and how we get there. So, our analysis is that there are two classes of people. There are the people that work and the people that are wealthy because we work and are poor, and they keep the benefits of most of what we create. And the only way that we can change that is to take back some of that power by working collectively with other working people. And that's the purpose of what we do. It's the purpose of DSA, is bringing us together so that we can fight back together. And it's important to talk about purpose because otherwise it's easy for people to start blaming themselves. We're taught by the messages of the ruling class that if we're poor, it's our own fault. It's because we're lazy. And, it doesn't matter the circumstances of our birth. That's irrelevant. What's relevant is that we don't work hard enough. So, in DSA, we both provide an alternative understanding of the world, help people interpret the things that are being done to them, because we're taught that that's just normal, but in fact, it's because somebody is benefiting. And then we talk about the purpose of fighting back, and that purpose is that we actually can change things, and we can have agency over our lives, and we can transform the way our society is run so that it benefits people, not just profits for the very few.
And you guys,
we're not just doing this just to have community. In other words, we're
right,
doing this because we want to win.
No, and I want to too. And you've identified three priorities. And again, we're talking with Maria Svart, Executive Director, National Director of Democratic Socialists of America, Medicare for All, which I'm a huge supporter of, electoral work, and building union strength, all of which actually I'm a huge supporter of. And the reason the reason why I went through all this empowerment and purpose and all that is to say, which I'll just conclude by saying, to me, the most empowering words are "who says," because we spend working people have lost, won't be able to get the power back that they had and build on it because unions are over. Yeah, who says? Medicare for all, no, that's too much. We can't do that in our system. Who says? I feel the intellectual energy that gets expended trying to tell us we can't do things. If a fraction of that was redirected to actually doing those things, we'd have them already. So let's talk then about those three priorities in the few minutes we have left and how you guys are working to achieve them.
So DSA is a democratically run organization. So all of our members and chapters elect delegates who attend a national convention. Our convention was in August, and the delegates voted on three national priorities. And they are really intended to build our power and help us win fights to transform pieces of the capitalist system and build our power so ultimately we can transform the entire system. So one of them is labor. So if you've been watching West Virginia or Oklahoma or Arizona or Kentucky, you know that unions aren't dead yet. And we, as socialists, we believe that working people choose who to give our labor. And our power lies in the fact that the system can't run without us. The economy can't run without us. So if working people feel that confidence and are strategic about withholding their labor through strikes and other kinds of job actions, that we can actually have a ton of power. So we believe in building working people's organizations, which are unions. Another national priority is electoral work. So this is definitely an arena of power. Who controls the state has a big impact on our lives. Just have to look at any of the legislation that keeps being passed to understand that. But we also know that in our existing electoral system, the two main parties have a lot of power, and there are many other smaller parties that really have a tough time. And so people sort of withdraw from the system. They're so frustrated. So our electoral strategy is to build independent political power, not sort of dogmatically saying we're not going to be participating in the Democratic Party or running on the Democratic Party line. Also not saying we're dogmatically not going to do that, right? We basically say each context is different. We're going to do a power analysis of what the terrain is. And we're going to support candidates running in the most strategic way possible and maintain our own lists, our own expertise. We're going to train our chapters to run candidates so that after the election, we have a base of people that are organized that are actually members of DSA or familiar with DSA, and then we can use them to support those candidates we elect, and also hold them accountable if we need to. So it's really about building independent power. And our third priority is Medicare for all, because we want to take, a huge section of our economy out of the marketplace and make it available for all people. Healthcare, we think, is a human right. And we have a campaign where we're going door to door talking to folks about the travesty that is our healthcare system today, and how actually we could easily afford providing healthcare for all if we transform the way we provide it in this country, and stop worrying about making profits for big insurance companies or big pharma, and rather create a system that benefits everyone, a single payer system, and stop rationing care based on whether people can pay. So all of these things are a direct confrontation with the capitalist class, that tiny class of a few thousand people that make the decisions that affect all of our lives every day. And they are also campaigns where if we win them, we make tangible gains in people's lives. So they're complementary ways to organize. One is in the economy and workplaces, one is in our communities talking to folks about healthcare, and one is in the political system looking to elect folks to local and state office that can take steps towards enacting our vision. So that's our strategy, and our chapters also pursue a whole variety of other campaigns around tenants' rights, et cetera. But those are our core national priorities.
Well, it makes complete sense to me, and I support what you guys are doing. I love what you guys are doing, and I love that you guys are understanding of power and in pursuit of power for the higher good, and B, also seemingly having some fun while you're doing it. So, Maria Svart, National Director of Democratic Socialists of America, thanks for all the great work, and thanks for coming on the program.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.